we are actually going to be talking about this infamous years-long question battle of Tory Lanez and Megan Thee Stallion. Specifically, was Tory Lanez framed for this shooting?
Yikes.
Yeah, tough one. I personally have an opinion that I will, hedge and say I might not have all of the facts. I might just have a lot of feelings and a lot of love for Megan Thee Stallion. I might be a little biased there. But I am a sponge and I'm willing to learn, and I'd love to hear your point of view on what you think is going on here, if you believe Tory Lanez is being framed for this whole situation with Megan Thee Stallion. I've just, from what I know and from what I've read and from the hot girl summers that I've had, my opinion is that I think he might have shot her. I think he might have shot her in the foot. And is doing a lot of work to change that narrative. But what is your opinion? I think you think something different.
Well, leave me to be the bad guy, okay? I'll do it.
You made me call Kendrick a sellout, so now...
Touche. You know what?
One might be worse than the other, so...
No, let me... at risk of coming across like a Tory Lanez apologist, right? Because, truthfully, like, full disclosure, I love Tory Lanez music. I think he's a great artist. I think he is an amazing artist, rather. I think he is a generational talent of an artist. I'm saying this objectively. To rap, sing, at the level he does it, songwrite, I think it's incredible. That goes without saying. I want to put that out there because... I don't know if people know that about me. If I'm not sure who's gonna be watching this at this point, but that's how I feel about Tory Lanez as an artist. Okay, Meg Thee Stallion, not so much of a fan of hers. However, there's a lot of songs of hers that I do really, really enjoy. So yeah, as far as the bias is concerned, I definitely musically strayed more towards Tory. Now, let me get to the question you asked. I wanted to point that on the record just cause. Like, there's probably some people who are like, hey, look, he clearly loves Tory Lanez music. Yeah, you're right. I do like his music more. But that has nothing to do with the point that I'm about to drop to you guys right now, okay? I want to take you guys back, right? And I'll be relatively brief because I wanted this to be a general exchange between you and myself, Moxie. But I'll be brief. So if we go back to the incident at hand that we obviously know is still being debated in 2025. There was a infamous shooting in the Beverly Hills that ultimately started from a, I guess, wild summer day / hot girl summer night at Kylie Jenner's house. All right. I'm not going to get into the relational interdynamics of it all that you guys already probably know. Y'all know about the love triangle that existed. That's not speculative. That was actually confirmed, but I'm going to put that aside for now. I think at the heart of this whole discussion lies one side in Tory Lanez and his team maintaining their innocence from the very beginning and their word being twisted to potentially mean different things as the case went on and as time has gone on, right? Take, for example, the infamous jail call that he had, right? Where he allegedly confessed. Well, I think you can look at that jail call two different ways, right? First and foremost, he never said, yo, I'm sorry, Megan. I'm sorry, Kelsey. Damn, why did I shoot her? Like, he never said none of that. I think it was inferred that was what he was confessing to. Rather, the flip side is he was probably in his mind and from his team saying, yo, I'm confessing to being at the heart of causing this drama and sleeping with both of y'all that caused this whole shit to begin with, right? It depends. Depending on what side you're on, you'll look at that quote unquote confession differently. But fast forward, we're in 2025 now because a lot has come out. Tory Lanez unfortunately was stabbed 14 times, which I know there's some people who didn't believe that was true, and TMZ reported it, so it was true. He was stabbed 14 times. Apparently his lungs collapsed. He miraculously made it to the hospital, airlifted, and somehow, some way survived. Now, this is coming at the same time when his team has mounted extreme support for his release due to the suppressed evidence that was never allowed to make its way into the trial room, into the court proceedings, into all of that, to which Megan's team has said, yo, why are you guys being distracted? He clearly shot her. You guys are just making noise for no reason. But I beg you guys to just pause for a second and say, before you just paint Tory Lanez as some liar and just a person who is saying, yo, I was framed just because, just for shits, just because he's just making this all up. Before you say he's just making it all up, please consider the fact that, eyewitnesses who, at least the only eyewitness to the incident was somebody who's been documented they were documented to have changed their story from what they told police to what happened in the actual courtroom. That's number one. You can look at the inconsistencies in terms of how Meg's wounds were evaluated to when someone else who came back behind them contradicted the reports. There's a lot of contradictions and a lot of changed stories in this. We have to admit, like, even down to when Meg said she never slept with Tory to when she later on said, yeah, I was smashing him. Like, I know people want to act like that has nothing to do with anything, and I get it. Like, I'm not trying to say just because she lied about having sex with Tory, that means shit she didn't get shot. I understand those are mutually exclusive. I get it. But what I'm just here to paint a picture to say there have been too many inconsistencies from a lot of people in this that even Meg supporters, to me, have to acknowledge, in my opinion. So going down in closing, because we can go for days here. In closing, I will say Tory's team has released a website which they've outlined all of the quote-unquote evidence that exonerates him as innocent, and which, by the way, the most important one was the gun that was tested for GSR, which came back as inconclusive, that never actually proved that Tory possessed that gun in the first place. That's a big revelation that, for whatever reason, people just conveniently just act like it doesn't matter. But I urge you guys to just say, let's not be quick to judge, especially after this mounting support. We've seen star after star, Drake, all these celebrities come out saying Tory needs to be pardoned by Governor Gavin Newsom. I'll just leave you guys with this. This noise that they're making for Tory is not for no reason. It's just not for no reason. It's not. And we have to be honest about the facts of the case and not use our emotions. That's what I'll say. Moxie, to that you say what?
Damn, counselor. I'm going to have to approach the bench.
Objection!
That's that's a little hard to refute. I really, hey, I do appreciate all of your points, and I honestly, I think when it comes to a lot of the fans who are rallying behind Megan Thee Stallion, and I think kind of when that event was happening, we were coming off of, or honestly still riding the wave of like the Me Too movement. We were trying to, this, and especially. Did that shooting, was that like during the pandemic as well? That was like when that was happening.
Correct.
So you've got like a little bit of combination of this Me Too movement, of the murder of George Floyd. Not to get too political, but we were in a time of where a lot of people were like Black Lives Matter, and then protect Black women, like specifically. As well as we're all inside and where we're all doing our own little sleuthing. and thinking, we're all our own little detectives and judges and executioners and lawyers. So we had a lot of time to like find the facts and ride on feelings, a lot of feelings. And I think you've got a lot of people on Megan Thee Stallion's side who just want to believe women and just make that, the blanket statement, like, we have to protect women. If this is how she said it happened, then this is how it happened. And then, that being said, that is, on the flip side, at least for me, I think as someone who admittedly doesn't have all the facts and is not as big of a Tory Lanez fan as you are, or as some people would be, or not some people, a lot of people would be, and being more of a Megan Thee Stallion fan, just kind of like, it's easier just to be like, oh, I don't even need to hear all the facts, I believe Megan, I like her music, I'm savage, I'm a hot girl, it's just like, it's easier to just like plug in things that might make sense for you as like a person to like walk around and just have this statement of like, he did it and I believe Megan. But I do think, hearing your point of view and how like stories have changed and she's saying one thing but then changing her mind to say another thing, it does like, it obviously makes you think, and it's scary that he could be in jail for something that he didn't do, and to be stabbed that many times, that would so devastating if he were to die in jail for something that he didn't do, in such a terribly violent and like gruesome way. And now I'm thinking like, why would they be lying? Why would Megan lie? And not saying like, I'm not asking that to say like, why would she lie so she's not? But like, really, I want to know what is being hidden. If Tory Lanez didn't do it, and someone else did, who are they protecting? Why are they being protected? What does Megan get out of going on this narrative and backing this narrative up so strongly if that's not how it happened? And also the whole Jenner Kardashian of it all. I don't trust anything that happens around that family just because they are so good at fixing narratives and giving the world what they want to see, really all for the benefit, I think, money. I don't think that family knows anything but money, money, money. So not saying that, Megan is on that same train, but just saying if something happens around a Kardashian or something happens around a Jenner, just that whole family, I almost think like we're not going to hear about it unless there's a reason that we should, a reason that they want us to hear about it. So what is the narrative that they're trying to make us believe? Why do we need to believe that Tory Lanez did this? That might sound really conspiracy, but
no,
that's what I'm
no. I love what you said. I love how you framed it. And again, like I said earlier before we started recording, there's no way to have this discussion about hypotheticals without, by default, coming across as a conspiracy theorist. So damn it, I'll take it. I'll take that narrative and I'll own it, right? But I'll say this. You said why? Because a lot of people were asking the same questions. Like, okay, if Tory didn't do it, well, then who did it, right? Well, a lot of this is speculation, so I'm not sitting here saying I know everything because I don't. I mean, I'm looking at this like you are, just like everybody's looking at this. But I do think his team has outlined a narrative that supports the facts that have come out, which is that, okay, you have an eyewitness named Sean Kelly who was in the neighborhood, who was looking out the window, who literally said to police, by the way, not that he said this on his social, prior to the trial, he said, yo, I saw a woman with a gun shooting at another woman, and the short guy, this is his words, not mine, trying to stop the woman from continuing to fire. This is what the witness saw. So my belief is that Tory said, man, you know what? Once they got out of that situation, because what happened was the 5 shots went off, they got back into the car, they drove down, and police pulled them over somewhere else. when they told everybody to get out the car, Megan Thee Stallion stepped on glass at that point, right? But the police they already got reports of a shooting. So the fact of the matter is this: people say, who shot if Tory didn't do it? Well, I think it's very clear who they're saying shot the gun, which is Meg Thee Stallion's friend, Kelsey. That's who they're saying shot it. And if you want to go back to the trial, why in God's blessed name would Kelsey need immunity on the stand before she gave her testimony in that trial? Why would someone who did not shoot the gun need immunity before they're testifying? That sounds very suspicious. And I think if you've seen enough Law and Order, if you've watched enough movies, you would know that someone who was also a quote unquote victim or a bystander to this, they wouldn't need immunity to testify about anything if they had nothing to do with this. So very suspicious. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I think Tory's team is making it very clear he didn't actually shoot that gun, but he decided I'm gonna take the raps for it, not knowing he was gonna be railroaded to get 10 years in jail, which you could argue why that happened. That's a whole different discussion, which Tory's team is arguing. There's some deeper, darker shit going on with Rock Nation. I'm gonna stay away from that as to like why a lot of this is happening, but I can just tell you, I believe that Tory's team and Tory didn't think he was going to actually get 10 years in jail for this crap. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah. But from a public narrative standpoint, he's the rapper. Nobody blinks an eye when they say Tory has anything to do with a gun. Mm-hmm. That doesn't change the narrative on a rapper. However, Meg Thee Stallion, that's a big blemish in her public perception, which at the time, we remember she had just come off of a big song with Beyonce. She was a big star. You don't really want those type of rumors and type of PR nightmares on her name. So I could easily conjure up a justification as to why her team would maybe want to have, in their best benefit, change the narrative. But again, very conspiratorial element, I will say. I sound kind of like a conspiracy theorist, but I will say I've been saying this for quite some time, and I'll just say this. The people are starting to swing. And I think this for good reason. I don't think this is just for no reason here. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean,
that's what I'll say.
You kind of got me putting on my tinfoil hat. I'm kind of thinking kind of hard about it now. Wait, can I ask a clarifying question?
There we go.
Was
please,
Kylie
please.
Jenner there? She was there that night? Is that
the story?
Am I
is
remembering that correctly?
The story is So the story is that Tory, Meg, Kelsey, Kylie, and a few other people were all chilling at Kylie Jenner's house, right? Mm. And if you remember, at least if you know, I should say, video has come out at the time, and even now, you can look this up on YouTube. It proves that they were all having a blast in the pool, having a good time. Tory with the shirt off, and Tory has since come out in his music talking about how he was line stepping because he was trying to smash Kylie. So you got Tory who was smashing Kelsey. He was also smashing Meg Thee Stallion, and he was also trying to smash Kylie Jenner, and Kylie was giving him play. I'm just letting you know. I'm trying to paint the picture of what that day looked like.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He had a whole different kind of plan. He had a whole different day mapped out for him.
It was diabolical. That's a whole different discussion. But yeah.
Then can I offer something crazy? What if Kylie shot the gun?
Whoa. What? She wasn't at the scene. No.
Okay. That's what I was trying to confirm. I was like, was she there? I was like, what if?
No, hell no.
It's even bigger than we can even imagine. Kylie did it. She didn't like what Megan was wearing. She didn't like her shoes. She was like, I'm going to shoot your shoes off. And they're like, oh, we got to cover this up. We cannot have another Jenner Kardashian in the court over violence. We got to figure this out.
No, that would be insane. But no, she was never at the scene.
Okay.
She was never at the scene.
I won't pin it on her then. This time.
That was crazy. That was insane right there. I've never heard that angle.
I just thought maybe we haven't thought about all the facts. Maybe we haven't seen the full picture.
Fair enough. I think that tinfoil hat was a little tight there.
Maybe,
I don't
think
know.
I'm actually gonna take it off. I think I'm sweating under here.
But I will say we will see what happens. Obviously, I think Man, it's going to be a fight because a lot of people are saying, you know, the Tory haters, if you will, or the people who just don't believe him are saying, well, if you had all this evidence, take it to a judge, take it to a court. Like, why are you putting this shit out in the media? Which I do think is a fair argument to a degree. But we've seen Congresswomen come out, Paulina Luna from Florida. You know, we're seeing mounting support of people digging into the details of this case and starting to raise questions like, why was this judgment handed out? Why was this not considered during trial? Why was this evidence not considered? Like, there's a lot of questions being asked, and I don't think there's a lot of answers being given. And so that's the part that's getting a little spooky, but we shall see. We shall see what happens.
I'm interested. I'm interested in how this all plays out. And if I'm right about Kylie, I want everyone who watches this episode to send me $20. Yo. If I am correct about that, I'm just
what if you're
now,
wrong?
Then I don't. Then this conversation didn't happen. Edit this out. Then we'll just go
right,
back to
enough,
this episode and we'll delete the whole thing. Forget I said it.
All right. All right, I thought you was about to say you'll pay them. But
No, because there's a very big chance that I am wrong. But if I am right, by some miracle, everyone who has watched this episode owes me $20.
All right,
including you.
We'll leave it at that. Listen, if you're right, I will pay you way more than that. But I'm confident that's not the case. Just want to throw it out there.
Okay. I rest my case, Your Honor.
Yeah. Thank you. You guys out there, you know. Y'all let us know. Was Tory Lanez framed? Are they just making a lot of noise for no damn reason? You know, should he take his 10 years and shut the hell up? You know, like what do you guys think is actually going on? Leave them in the comments of this episode.
Listen to the full episode. Link below.